Hello and welcome to Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. This is a game very similar to Vampire Survivors. Obviously it's in the same style as that, and so throughout the video there will be a couple of times where I will say, yes, well, you know, think about Vampire Survivors and what that does, and then I'm going to compare the two, because obviously that's the genre, basically, what's going on there. Anyway, if you'd like to check out Spirit Hunters, there is a link in the description. As you can tell by the skill tree, or the research tree, or whatever you want to call this is basically your meta progression that you're going to be, unlocking over time. There's a significant amount to unlock here, and there are many, many different things to gain from it. So for example, there are new weapons to unlock, there are new heroes to unlock, there are passive bonuses, there are all kinds of crazy things, for example like pets. You can also unlock the pet system. So here's the thing, this is obviously your out of game progression system. Like I said before, all of these things are going to cost some kind of resource. You have runes here, and you also have crystals. I don't know what these flame things are just yet, because I haven't reached that point, but yeah. Anyway, the runes are used to basically improve something specific, whereas crystals will be used to unlock things like heroes. So for example, hero Maxine, you can see here, she will require 100 crystals to unlock her. I have already unlocked Conrad. He's actually pretty fun to play as. We're actually going to be increasing the tornado damage. Can I not actually do that? No, I can't do that just yet. Yes, so some of the skills that you can unlock have a prerequisite. So in other words, I'm going to need to defeat the Cactus Inferno boss 2 more times, or should we say the mini boss, 2 more times to be able to gain the ability to unlock this particular thing. Now bear in mind that some of these bonuses are extremely powerful. They are very, very powerful. For example, Grand Hex. Now the developers are very communicative, and they are changing things all the time. They're improving things, they're buffing things. The one thing that I would say, which I'm not that big a fan of, is that they do tend to nerf things when they don't necessarily need to. And I'm gonna get into that as we go forward here. But generally, in a game like this, you kind of want to feel extremely powerful, don't you? Yeah, you want to feel powerful, you want to make these game-breaking builds with a certain combination of skills or items or whatever. And in this game you can have 4 weapons, and each of the 4 weapons has 4 upgrades, and you get these randomly throughout the game when you pick up experience and you level up and so on. And it used to be that arrow, which is this thing right here, this is you fire heavy arrow in your facing direction, wherever your character's facing, and it will penetrate every single enemy that it passes through, and it will do damage to each of those enemies. Now, it used to be, in one of the previous versions of the game, that the arrow build was really powerful. Basically, what you could do is you could get a skill that would reduce the cooldown of the arrow, and it would basically make it into a machine gun of a skill. So the heavy arrow would literally just be firing pew 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 like that. Really, really fast. It would melt bosses really, really quickly, and it would just be a lot of fun. They have since nerfed that, which is, as I say, a little, I wouldn't say questionable, because I get it, I understand that they want the game to be balanced, but in my opinion, every other skill should gain a buff of some kind. Every other skill should get a buff. Rather than nerfing things, I feel like they should just buff everything else and make everything as broken as possible, because then it gives every single player that plays the game all kinds of different options. Anyway, now that that's over with, let's play, and I'm going to be playing with Conrad here. I actually really like Conrad. He has 200% increased health. He is very slow, so do bear that in mind. And I'm going to be starting with the Grand Hex spell. Grand Hex was actually just buffed. It used to do 5 damage as a base. Now it does 12. oh yeah, it's pretty significant. This is a new level that I've just unlocked as well, by the way, and in comparison to Vampire Survivors, each level takes 15 minutes to reach the final boss instead of 30. So, let's do this. This is the first time, as I say, that I'm going into Dark Forest. I have completed the other 2 levels, and we're going to see what happens here. Alright, so Grand Hex, you see that circle on the floor? Yeah, that's Grand Hex. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the... I would probably say maybe, well, I don't really want to say that it's really powerful because I don't really want to get it nerfed, which is a bit of an issue, but yeah, anyway, the point is, this is an amazing skill and definitely something that I'd recommend right now, but obviously if they nerf it, then, well, probably not at that point. But there's a variety of reasons why you would want to take it. It has a relatively short cooldown, but you can reduce that even further, basically. You can make it so incredibly short. You can make it about a 3-second cooldown, maybe even lower than that. And look at how much damage it does. It has unlimited capped potential right here. And apparently they have also mentioned in the recent changelog that they are going to be nerfing the Cleave ability as well. And even though, as I said, there's no need to nerf stuff, just buff other things. That's it. That is the only thing you really want to do. At least in my opinion, that's my own opinion. I think a couple of other people also have said something along those lines. But anyway, there are these little cages. You see these cages and chests and various other things on the floor, and you see that big circle. Basically, if you stand your character in that circle, eventually it is going to open, and then you will be able to gain the rewards inside. And I'm currently in the process of opening up this cage because it has a pet in it. Yeah, there you go, it has a pet in it. So I personally, I'm going to be taking the 10% increased move speed because Magnus... no, Magnus is the other hero. Conrad, which is the one I'm playing as right now, Conrad has a very slow movement speed. So I'm going to take 10% increased movement speed because, as I say, he's just way too slow for me at the moment. So I'm just going to make him a little bit quicker. We're going to be going for spears. I'm basically going for spears and a Grand Hex build. I personally like that quite a bit, and it seems to do quite nicely. They've also made it in the patch recently that spears can now critical again, because apparently spears could not critical beforehand, but now they can once more. So that's actually really, really nice. I'm going to make it so that we get some critical with Grand Hex. Basically, any single time I can get Grand Hex buffed in terms of a skill increase, I'm going to be taking that as soon as possible. We're also going to be taking Tangle Vines. I really, really like Tangle Vines. I think Tangle Vines is a great skill. It used to be that it targeted in front of your character in a straight line, but they've now changed it to target the closest enemy to you, which I think is a great change. I think that's really, really nice. I like that a great deal. We're going to be increasing Grand Hex's ability to deal damage. You can see how much damage it's actually dealing already. It's just actually crazy how much damage Grand Hex can actually do. And if you go towards where the Grand Hex is actually appearing and you kind of stand in and around it, you can really see its effect working so dramatically well. It's crazy how good it can be. Anyway, we're going to be increasing my spear damage a little bit there. I'm going to move through these enemies. I'm going to be attacked like no one's business, but thankfully, because Conrad is quite beefy, he's got a lot of HP, I can pretty much afford to do that. I don't really need to worry too much about taking damage. Some of the other heroes are quite fragile in comparison to Conrad, although Magnus, in my opinion, is probably the I hesitate to say strongest hero because he does have the most healing ability. That's why I say strongest in that case. But yeah, he does have the most healing ability, Magnus, that is. Conrad, on the other hand, does have, with Grand Hex, if you start with Grand Hex, he has the ability to heal himself for 2 HP per cast. So whenever Grand Hex is cast, he gains 2 HP, which is actually really, really nice. For someone like Conrad who has a massive amount of HP already, it really makes a huge difference. But yeah, Magnus generally is the hero that you're going to be starting with anyway. Before you have any resources whatsoever, you're going to be playing with Magnus most of the time. And in my opinion, he is very, very good and a solid pick no matter what. And I think he's a very good beginner character, as well as a more advanced character as well. If you can maximize the amount of HP that you're getting back from his healing, then it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to continue increasing the AoE size of Grand Hex. And I think we should be okay, as long as I can continue to maximize the damage that Grand Hex is doing, and also make it so that enemies do not get to me. I did play one of my runs on the desert level, and I actually tried a tornado build. I tried a tornado, spear, Grand Hex, orbital fire build, and it actually worked really nicely. I actually won the level with that. And I'm wondering whether that would actually be something I wanted to go for this time as well. But instead of going for the tornado, I've gone for the tangle vines. So I'm not sure if that's going to work. It seems like I'm able to very easily kill the mini-boss. That was the mini-boss right there that you saw just literally drop that chest. And I'm now full HP again because we have gained a couple of hearts from the mini-boss, which I very much appreciate. But yeah, most enemies are going to be walking into your Grand Hex, and boom, they just get absolutely vaporized. As I say before, Grand Hex is, in my opinion, probably my favorite skill right now. And I actually really like the Tornado spell. I think it's so fun to use when you actually get it going, and it actually starts getting a couple of damaging increase abilities and gets its size increased, and you can increase how many of the tornadoes you actually spawn when you cast. It is really fun to see. But obviously that's well, that's neither here nor there at the moment. But yeah, anyway, we're just going to continue trying. Oh, there's another mini boss. Okay, that that might be a bit tricky. Well, we'll see. Let's just increase our cooldown once again, or reduce the cooldown, shall we say? And I should be good. I should be good. A lot of the enemies are now coming in, but thankfully, yes, give me this. My AoE size, there we go. The mini-boss is now dead. And yeah, give me all these runes. Give me all these runes and the crystals and the wonderful things. And you can find these crates and other items around the level, and they will increase your gold. And your gold is actually not used outside of the game. It's only used to buy items and various other things from merchants. And in my opinion, it's pretty useful, especially if you're having some big issues with health. But for me personally, I don't really use the merchants that often. I generally think that they are very useful when you can find them. They are super useful because they have the ability to sell pets, and pets are one of the best things you can get, in my opinion, because pets will give you the ability to draw experience to you just that much easier. They have the ability to, well, as you've already seen, increase your movement speed, which is what I've picked, and they also have the ability to dig for items. They have the ability to increase the speed at which you mine for crystals, because some of the time you are going to find these little ore deposits on the map, and you can actually dig for that ore, and it's going to give you crystals basically. And the more crystals you get, the better, because then you can get more meta progression out of the game, and you can make your character, more powerful. You can unlock more things, and so on. These mummies are actually pretty difficult for me to deal with. They move, in my opinion at least, way too fast. Obviously, the game is in early access, so things are still being changed and everything, if you couldn't already tell from what I've been talking about. But yeah, it's still in early access, still in development. And as I say, the developers are very communicative indeed, and I very much appreciate that. And yeah, so those mummies, for Conrad at least, are very difficult to get away from. I think, yeah, that one of them was just dealing. He was basically soloing me. So hopefully we're not going to get too many more of those, because that would be that would be slightly problematic. Now, towards the end of the timer, you are going to continually get swamped by really large enemies. So if you don't have a decent skill set up or layout or anything like that, or a skill build, you're going to have problems. You're going to have some pretty big problems. And there are, of course, as I've said before, there are some skills that are much better than others. And you do need to take advantage of these things to be successful in a run. For example, this is not... I don't think I've seen too much in the way of people using Grand Hex, but I could be outdated on that. I haven't really been, you know, seeing what other people are using that much, but I just know that this works really nicely for me, at least. And I'm basically just doing what I think looks cool and plays fun and all that wonderful stuff. Now, the one thing that I have to mention, and that really, in my opinion, this is one of the things that really does need to be improved, is hitboxes. The hitbox in the game is a bit difficult to quantify in some cases. For example, when I'm trying to avoid something, I actually get hit. And vice versa. Sometimes I think, oh, I'm not going to get hit by that, and then I do get hit, and, you know, vice versa, where I think I'm definitely going to get hit, but then I don't get hit. So the hitbox is, it needs a little tweaking. It's not terribly bad, it just really needs a little bit of refining, because for me specifically, it feels like, as I say, it feels a little unfair in the way that sometimes you are moving around and you think, oh, I'm not going to get hit by that, but then you do. And in my opinion, in those situations, you really shouldn't. So that's one of the things, and obviously the other smallish gripe is just buff stuff, you know? Just buff all the skills to make it super fun and broken, and that's the kind of experience it should be, you know? But obviously, that's just my opinion. Maybe others don't really share it, but whatever the case, I am having a whale of a time with the game. Actually, nevertheless, even with the hitbox small issue and, you know, the various other things going on with the game, I am actually very much enjoying this, and I like to just jump on this game and play for 10-15 minutes if I can actually survive that long, and then just leave it and go back to whatever I was doing before, because it's nice to have a little break from whatever it is, and then I can come to this and I can be like, oh yeah, look at that, I'd love to have a little blast on Spirit Hunters, you know, little blast, try to you know, get further than I did beforehand, maybe try to achieve victory in this particular level, whatever level it might be, and maybe try a different skill build as well. That's the fun thing about these kinds of games, and I do very much appreciate these shorter duration as well. I know that Vampire Survivors does have a shorter duration, but it is very intense, and yeah, I don't know. I quite like the art style in this game as well. The art style actually does look very charming, and it pops out to you really nicely as well. Feel like it has a nice vibe to it, but yeah, I think it is actually worth your time. I do think it is worth your time if you are a fan of these kinds of games. I think you should definitely check it out. But as I say, if you have a problem with hitboxes and you feel cheated by that, then you may want to give it some time until they tweak it. If they do, I don't know whether they are planning on that or whatever, but yeah, generally the game is a lot of fun. It's just a case of small minor things that could be improved here and there. I think I might actually lose this, to be honest, because I don't know whether I have enough upfront damage or crowd control, because I'm thinking that maybe me having no tornado this time around is making a pretty significant difference to my survivability. There's a treasure chest over there. I would like to see what's going on with that. There we go. We at least killed this. Bear in mind, this is actually a new level that I haven't done before, so it could very well be the case that this is just... I'm just not used to it, you know? I'm not used to the enemies, I'm not used to how they work. that might actually be causing me more problems than I anticipated. But, well, it's fun to try nevertheless. It is fun to try. What is that? An undead clown? Get away from me, undead clown. Yes, there we are. Oh, you're dead, but now you have spawned a bunch of volcanic skeletons. Okay, get out of here. Thank you very much. Okay, can I please open this chest? Yes, I can. Thank you. Give me that heart. Bear in mind, I do heal quite nicely because I believe the hearts heal for a percentage of your max HP. And Conrad obviously does have a huge amount of HP, so he is going to heal for a lot. Let's continue increasing my spear damage. And let's continue getting experience and stay next to the Grand Hex. Wherever the Grand Hex spawns, that is where we move to. That's the strategy with the Grand Hex. Or at least, that's what I try to do. There we go. Give me all of that. Give me all that sweet, sweet experience. Yes. Yes, it's working nicely. It is working very nicely. And when you can get a lower and lower and lower cooldown on your Grand Hex, you basically get a circle every single time you need it, which is all the time at this point. You know, just bear in mind that we are actually pretty close to the end. We're only a couple of 2 minutes. Oh yeah, I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead actually. Am I? Not yet, but almost. Oh no. Oh no. Yep. I'm done. I'm done. Oh well, never mind. Never mind. But there you go. We actually did survive. We only had 1 minute left. But you can see how dangerous the game can get. And then you're back here, and there you go. Look at that. Impressive hunter, you grow stronger. The divinity web is ready with its secrets. And then, as you can see, this is massive, right? Look at this. Look at how massive this skill tree is. I don't even know what some of these things are on the outside here, but yeah, they are kind of impressive. And yeah, you can also then take additional things that can improve your skills. So for example, start each battle with an additional 50 gold. Personally, I don't think that is that useful, but there are a number of other things that in my opinion are much better. And you can get things like a pet that pulls enemies away from you. You can get another pet over here which has a 25% chance to create hearts every 10 seconds. That's, in my opinion, super amazing. You can also get blue souls are worth 10% more experience. I will probably be getting that as soon as I have enough crystals to get it. But otherwise, I'm actually going to be improving my vines. Boom. I improved my vines. We just need to kill more of those cactus more things. And then we'll be able to improve that a little bit more. You can also unlock hard modes in the various maps too. One more shop can appear on the battlefield. You can increase your hero loot magnet reach. I'm actually going to be doing that for this. There's also a mining speed increase, as you see there. Increased soul drop rate by 5%. Drop rate for souls, that's basically experience. And damage over time, increase for orbital fire. That could be useful. No, I think we're good. Okay. So I'm going to do one more run, and we're going to try a slightly different build. They say that Cleave is really powerful right now, so I guess I might as well try it out. Kills with Cleave have a 2% chance to drop a heart. I think that's actually kind of useless, but I'm going to try this. Yeah, we're going to try this, and we're going to play on a different level. We're going to play on... we'll play on desert. I want to show you a different level, so let's do that, because we were playing on dark forest before. We're going to play on desert now, and there are, of course, different difficulties with each of the maps as well. So yeah, anyway, Cleave is something that actually will attack in front of your character. So wherever your character is facing, that is where Cleave will go, which I personally don't really like that much. I personally feel like that is... I generally don't like that in these kinds of games. I generally try to avoid skills that have that kind of thing, but it has proven to be quite strong. Gonna just be increasing my cleave ability, and there you go. There's the mining that I talked about earlier, where you can destroy these little veins of ore, and you can get them and get a little bit of extra crystal. And otherwise, what are we gonna do? Let's do tornado, right? Let's do tornado. Tornado is always really, really fun, and I haven't shown you that before. I do really like tangle vines, though. Yeah, it's kind of a shame that you can't really focus on too much of a different skill. You can only really focus on one skill if you want it to be super, super powerful. So that is a bit of an issue, but I'm going to go for Bone Shot. I think Bone Shot's actually pretty fun. Bone Shot attacks vertically rather than Cleave attacking horizontally. So if you want something that is going to cover all of your angles, then taking Cleave and taking Bone Shot is probably a pretty cool idea, but obviously bear in mind you only have 4 weapons to begin with. You have Spear, Arrow, Cleave, and Orbital Fire at the very beginning of the game, so do bear that in mind. You're going to need to use those until you get something else to unlock, so you're going to need resources for that, of course. Tornado also does tend to go in random directions. It doesn't actually go where you're facing or anything like that. It will just pick somewhere random and then it will go that way. And generally, if you are speccing into Tornado and you're wanting to focus on that, it is, well, at least for me, it's highly recommended that you go for, if you are focusing on that, you need to run in the direction of the tornado. If you don't do that, good luck, because later on when you're being swarmed by massive amounts of units, you're not really going to get an opportunity to breathe. There's going to be no space whatsoever, and enemies are going to be all around you, and you should really just, try to maximize your tornado as much as possible. I'd like to find a pet if I can, so let me see if I can do that. We got a heart. That's going to be very useful. What else do we have here? We got some more crates. Can you give me a pet? Oh, okay. Oh, they gave me a chest. Okay, they gave me a chest. That's pretty cool. Bear in mind, I obviously have no idea where I'm going. There's no map or anything like that, so it's pretty much just random luck whether you're going to come across something that is actually useful. But maybe there's going to be something useful in this chest, and it seems like there is there's a little bit. Not too bad. I'm going to go for critical chance once again with the Cleave. I'm actually really surprised we're not getting any other upgrades for the Cleave spell. I would have expected us to get something, but it doesn't seem like we're getting anything, amusingly enough. Oh well, never mind. Okay, can I just destroy these? Thank you. These are great sources of experience because there's just so many of them, and they all, have the ability to drop experience, so it's always good. Look at that, more critical chance. Are you serious? What's actually going on with that? That's kind of weird. Okay, we've taken a lot of damage from these guys, but in exchange, we've gained some decent experience. Oh, they all ran into my vines. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna have to find, probably gonna have to find a merchant or something like that, or maybe just get lucky. I would like a pet. I'd like the pet that digs up loot every 10 seconds if at all possible, or maybe even that pet that gives me a 25% chance to get some hearts. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, oh, there we go. Fantastic, we actually found a pet. Okay, let's see what I get. Maybe something good. Alright, let's see what we get. Okay, nothing that useful, unfortunately. I'm going to go for increased base damage. That is usually a pretty solid pick, especially for tornado vine builds. So I'm pretty happy with that. We got some hearts from the chest there as well. I'd like to find another one of those chests if at all possible. That would be nice. Let's increase the number of vines that we're going to get to. Ah, there we are. We found a merchant. Fantastic. Okay, so let's actually just spend a little bit of our skill point in bone shot. We're probably going to need to improve the speed of that, because otherwise we're not going to get any value out of it whatsoever. And we are going to need to increase its damage too. Let me... increase Tangle Vines, I guess. I was actually going to go for a Tangle Vine build this time around, but I thought, hey, you know what? Let's try out Cleave, and then they just give me the critical chance stuff, which is obviously not exactly great. Anyway, let's see. No pets. Oh, no. No pets available. Okay. I guess I'm just going to go for medium jar of souls. Going to go for health replenishing hearts, and then we will just go for some more experience, I guess. There you go. Massive amount of experience right there. Cooldown rate, that's always nice. And now we're full HP. Yeah, look at that. Pretty crazy. Yeah, so basically that's what I'm talking about. When it comes to going to a merchant, it's really, really powerful. If you get the right things in the merchant, it can be very powerful. Sometimes they won't sell you any health whatsoever though, and in which case then you're, well, maybe you're not going to have such a great time. But, oh, look at that. We found another pet. Okay, perfect. That is really, really good luck, actually. I do very much enjoy the fact that the game has a little timeline on the bottom of the screen there, and that basically tells you when the next mini-boss is coming up, because that allows you to maybe plan ahead a little bit. I don't know whether you noticed, but you can kind of use the environment to give yourself a bit of breathing space. Sometimes enemies will stay on one side of some environment and they will not be able to reach you for a little bit of time. So that can be used to sort of, as I say, give you a bit of an extra little spare time to prepare yourself. But yeah, let's try to take care of this particular enemy. I'd like all that experience though, please. There we go. Okay, more critical chance. Okay, more critical chance. Definitely don't want that, thank you very much. I will dig for loot every 10 seconds though. Thank you for that one. I would have liked the 25% chance for hearts, but I'll take the digging one. I guess that's always going to be kind of useful. Maybe I can find more pets. You see, that's the thing. You can actually upgrade your pets as well. So if you do find an additional pet, I guess, but it's the same pet that you already have, then that will count as an upgrade to the existing one that you already own. So that's actually kind of amazing in my opinion. That makes all the difference in the world, because you can basically make it so that one of the runs that I had where I didn't get any damage upgrades whatsoever for my tornado skill, I was actually able to buff that with one of my pets, and that made all the difference. It was doing so much damage at that point, and you can imagine how much damage it can deal, because you could see how much damage it's dealing right now, and it's only got +1 damage. And yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Anyway, finally, okay, we're getting some more cleave abilities. That's great. So now I can increase the size of the cleave, and that's still not really going to help me that much, because I do need more damage as well as reach. So yeah, all the critical chance in the world is great, don't get me wrong, but I would very much like something a little bit more than that. There we go. It seems like it's actually starting to give me more cleave now. Okay, I spoke too soon. I spoke too soon apparently, yes. Give me that heart. Yes, there we are. Okay, so we're struggling a little bit in terms of our HP, but again, that's really not that big a deal. If you can get kind of lucky, you don't really need to worry too much about that. For example, coming across another shop or defeating a mini-boss or anything like that, they all have the ability to give you hearts. There's one right there on the floor. Decreased cooldown rate. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I would have liked beforehand. Have I taken 4? No, I haven't taken 4. So what I want to do with Cleave now is I want to take damage on Cleave if I can get lucky enough to get that. That's really going to be very useful. Let's increase the amount of tornadoes I can get. Basically, from what I can tell, the best way to build your character is to try and make a build that is high damage. And obviously that sounds really, really dumb for me to say that right now, because duh, you know, you're going to have to kill the enemies before they kill you, right? Yeah, but what I'm saying is high damage to single targets, basically. You want to try to do really high damage to single targets, but then decently high damage to multiple targets, because you never really want to have a build that is all AoE, because if you have a build like that, like I do kind of right now, then you're not really going to kill these bosses that fast, and you're not going to be able to clear the board that quickly either, unless you have a build like the Grand Hex. I feel like Grand Hex actually works really nicely, but you do need some form of crowd control, and I didn't have that in the previous level, so that was the reason why we didn't really do too well there. Yeah, maybe we just didn't get lucky. Who knows? Maybe we just didn't get lucky. Anyway, let's... I need to move around here, actually. Oh, never mind. We killed him. Okay, that's great. Let's just try and clear this out. I need all this experience. Oh, yeah, that's actually something that I wanted to mention, too. One big fundamental change from Vampire Survivors is the fact that the experience on the floor actually disappears after a certain period of time. And so that does offer a little bit of more, shall we say, a bit more risk-reward gameplay, because in Vampire Survivors you don't really worry about picking up experience so much, because you can leave it on the floor as long as you want, and then you can pick it up with that automatic, that automatic pickup power-up, whatever it is. Can't remember the name of it now, but yeah, so you can do that. Whereas in this game, experience will disappear eventually. And that can have a pretty significant impact on how many levels you gain. And of course, because most of the ways that you're going to be gaining skills and abilities and improvements to your power is through leveling up, it's actually really important that you do that. It's really important that you gain experience. Otherwise, you're not really going to be able to do too much later down the line. You're going to need to keep up with the amount of enemies that are coming in. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind. Otherwise, let's see if I can actually find another pet. I would love to find another pet with maybe... Oh, he gave me a heart. This guy is literally saving my life right now. This pet is doing so much work, being able to just give me these things when I need it. Super clutch right there. Yeah, no offense, but I don't really like Cleave. I don't know. I tried it out when I first started playing the game, which was a while ago, and I didn't really like it then. And I think maybe I just didn't get lucky with the skills. Maybe I need to increase its damage a bit more, because my damage at the moment is kind of lackluster with it. So maybe that's all I need to do. But yeah, from what I can tell, it doesn't seem that fun to use, but I could just, as I say, have just gotten unlucky. Maybe I needed a little bit more cooldown on it or something like that. I'd like to pick up that heart if at all possible. There we go. Alright, let's see. Let's get some more cooldown on the tornado. I really like the tornado. It gets rid of so many really small enemies, and then you don't need to worry about them anymore. And if you get significant amounts of damage power-ups and increases, then it can even do enough damage to eliminate some of the bigger ones too. Ooh, wow. Okay, yeah. We'll just continue going for cooldown, I guess, with the tornado, because if I can literally just spawn a tornado every 2 seconds, that's going to be really strong. And we've almost reached 14 minutes, the same as on the other level, but you can see here how much easier this level is in comparison to the previous one. And obviously I'm saying that a little bit ahead of time. You know, a little bit ahead of time. I might be a bit too overconfident at this point, but it's true. The enemies do get more dynamic and more difficult to deal with as you go from level to level. They all have different things that you need to worry about. Whereas this one is obviously the first level that you can play on, and it is not too difficult to deal with most of the enemies' abilities. You know, they're not going to be exceptionally complicated like some of the others. For example, on the Highlands map, the Highlands map have these enemies that are basically big charging minotaur kind of enemies, and they kind of like charge in a straight line, And yeah, okay, that sounds like that's really easy to dodge, right? But imagine there's 8 of those guys doing that at the same time. So you're going to have to literally dodge 8 of them, and they all do it at different timings. So while they might all have the same cooldown on their attack, they're all going to do it at different times, and as a result you need to dodge 8 different things at 8 different times. So it's very, very difficult to do that, especially with a slow-moving character like Conrad. It's a lot easier to do it with Magnus, that's for sure. Ah, this guy, great, look at that. We actually gained a heart-generating pet from the merchant this time around. Very nice to see that. Okay, otherwise I'm just going to be getting experience here. I have 120 left. I'm not going to get any health or anything. There's no point in that. And we're just going to increase my attack size with the Cleave here. Let's just get more experience if I can. More hearts. Yeah, this pet is making me theoretically impossible to kill. If I'm stupid, then I will die. But I think he is really making all the difference, especially considering I also have another pet that digs up loot. So yeah, that's actually kind of amazing. We're also going to be increasing our AoE with our vines here, and it has a damage over time component too, which is very cool. Yeah, it seems like Cleave is actually doing a really nice amount of work right now. Probably because I have started actually increasing its damage, so yeah, I take it back what I said when I said I didn't like Cleave. Seems to actually be working really nicely now. Can I get that heart? Yes, I can. There we go. And we've survived 15 minutes. There you go. And now what's going to happen is this. Yeah, so now this is something that some people do not like one bit. And I am actually inclined to agree, where I think that it's personally not a very... I don't know. I don't really like the way that this is done because, yeah. You see that? Unless you have... that's the problem here. Unless you have a high damage burst skill build, you're going to have difficulties dealing with the final boss if you're playing as Conrad. If you're playing with something else that has a slightly higher movement speed, then you might be able to dodge the large boss charging at you at the end. Bear in mind that you have to fight in an ever-enclosing arena, which, by the way, as far as I'm aware, will kill you instantly if you touch it. I think that's what happened to me one time. But that's also why I was talking about, earlier in the video, I was talking about the hitboxes, because in my opinion, I think the hitbox is really large on the boss, and as a result, it does tend to hit you a little bit, maybe a little bit too often. I'm not too sure about that, when you're quite far away from it. But again, this is all going to be up for change. You know, all these things can be changed, and I'm sure they will be working with the community to make the game as fun as it possibly can be, because in general the game is actually really fun already. It's just those small little things that need some tweaking here and there, and obviously just don't nerf stuff, you know, just don't nerf the fun builds, just buff everything else. For example, I personally feel like a really fun build would be something like Orbital Fire and what else? Maybe the bone shot thing, maybe? Not entirely sure. That's the cool thing about the game. I continually think to myself, oh, I want to try out this build, I want to try out that build, see what happens with it, see what's powerful and what's not. And yeah, hopefully I'm going to be able to do that in the future. Anyway, if you'd like to check out Spirit Hunters, it's very cheap. It's only like, what, $5, $6, something like that. So it is very cheap. And yeah, you might very well like it if you are a fan of Vampire Survivors. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.